Just to sort of stick with, I guess, the younger generation aspect, when you curated these communities that you have, I read that you went into schools a lot.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how even you went about that? Because it really fascinates me, and it sounds to me like on top of that, you actually had talks with younger generations, which commend you for that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I just started off local, so I just went to like local schools and I just bop up and be like, "Yo, I currently work doing this, but I would love to give you young people money." And obviously, at first, people are like, "What?"
Yeah,
but I'm like,
how sort of thing.
For real. And I'm like, I've set up this business and see I can invest into young people, yada yada yada. Would you be keen? And the good thing is, schools are parts of trust. So if you speak at one school, they're kind of like, "Oh yeah, cool, we'll introduce you to this school," and so on and so on. So it was very easy to then get into the school network. So really, it was like almost like door-to-door sales, just going in and saying to people, "Hey, like I just want to tell them my journey. I was a little wanker when I was younger. I've sorted it out a little bit now. I'm less of a wanker now." Do you know what I mean?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit less, not too much less. But just giving them that journey. I think a lot of the time, especially when I was in school, they bring people in and all you'd hear is, "I was here, now I'm here."
Yeah.
And I wasn't really that middle ground.
Yeah.
And I also think I love about your podcast is, and by the way, I love that you know all these questions off by heart. I would have been baffled, mate. I would have just been like...
Well, we took a break halfway through and I read my notes. But yeah, in general. But I think because you have to just, naturally, if the conversation is more natural, like when we weren't recording about stuff like Rogue, and what's interesting, or podcasts in general, is that if it flows and it's natural, and it's a natural conversation, it leads back to the relatable aspect, and it leads back to like what you're saying now with regards to kids. Yeah. Is that you're now talking from, or expanding from whatever 12, 13 through to 30.
Yeah. And I think the thing for me is that good ideas can come from anywhere, and when I was speaking in those schools, I was just speaking to young people. I'm like, shit, that's a good idea. Like one of the young people that I put some money into, their business was, they're in Elephant and Castle. They go to a school in Elephant and Castle. If you get a puncture on your bicycle while you're out and about in Elephant and Castle, they will cycle out to you, fix your puncture, and head off. That's genius. Like, how frustrating is it when I don't really cycle bikes, so I got a motorbike. But when you're out and about and you bang, puncture's gone. You're just like, I haven't got my kit on me. This 15-year-old will just cycle up, got the kit in the back.
And reasonably cheap, by the way?
Yeah, it was literally like £10 or £15 to like repair. And when you're out there, you'd be like, "Mate, I'll pay you freaking," like, you know what I mean? And they were like Monzo it to us, which was genius. That was the killer for me. I was like, no one carries cash. And he's like, "Oh no, we got Monzo." And I was like, "All right, mate, buy all the kits you want." I was like, off the ground. I don't know if they're still doing that. I haven't spoken to them in a while. But it's stuff like that when you hear these ideas. And I'm thinking an adult wouldn't come up with that because it's not a thing that they would think about. It's not big enough margins or that kind of stuff. But yeah, so for me, it was going into schools, speaking, that then connected you to other schools. But really, it just started, I didn't start off with any kind of, I just wanted to invest money into them. That's all I cared about. And then because of that, you bought that goodwill. Yeah. So then people believed in you and they realised you weren't that much of a wanker.
I think what's great about what you're doing in that aspect, which again, it's amazing how many parallels there are, or at least potential parallels. But I'd love to know more about your experience with this and if you've seen this when you go to schools. But I found, even though, like we said before, I went to quite a good school, I wouldn't say I left with a huge amount of, should we say, curiosity inside of me or particular intellectual interest. I left with great friends and had an awesome time, but I didn't really leave with a particular amount of personal interest, which is again why we're doing this, because we're trying to create relatable stuff that people can listen to. Yeah. Did you have that experience? And also, do you see that still within the educational system, or at least when you go to schools, you see kids, well, that, the fundamentals of physics or whatever it is, or classic subjects just aren't really resonating, and then they do have this boredom, and then you come in and it's a whole different spark of interest, right?
Yeah. I feel school's designed for people like my little sister. So my little sister's like A's, A stars, every teacher loved her. She was just nailed it. Everybody knew she was going to go to university. Everybody knew she was going to probably become a doctor or whatever. Me, didn't have a Scooby-Doo. I was good at business. I was good at football. And I could sing. That was about it. That's all I had at school. So my teachers were just like, "Oh, you need to do all these other activities." And I was like, "Mate, can I not just sing, do business and play football? Just let me do that." And I think for people that are wired like my sister, the education system is perfect. People that are wired like me, it's horrendous because you spend the entire time thinking you're stupid. So I spent the entirety of my school education thinking, "Oh, I'm stupid because I don't know about this maths, whatever. But if you ask me to do maths in a profit and loss account, man, I'm all over it. Ask me to do English in a business plan, I can do it all day. And I think it's the the school system is designed for a specific subset of people, and those that aren't like that then just fall to the wayside, and they may leave being uninspired, being whatever. And I think for me, when I left school, thankfully, because of my business studies teacher and because of people that made an effort with me, I realized I'm not good at this shit, so I'm not even going to bother. When people say to me, oh, like, try and strengthen your weaknesses, I'm like, fuck that. Screw my weaknesses.
You see no use in that at all?
For me, I don't know if it works for other people. Yeah. For me, personally, no. Yeah. I'm good at public speaking. I'm good at sales. This is what I'm going to stick to. And I'm just going to double down on that and perfect my craft. That's it. So when I left school, I knew in my mind, I'm going to do these few things and I'm just going to do them well. And that was that for me. But then with my sister, she left and was kind of like, loved the education system, was super excited to get to uni and study biomed and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think there are different, and even between my sister and I, there'll still be different sets of different types of people or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I didn't leave going, love school.
Yeah,
you know
so inspired. This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
100%. I was just like, I know what I'm kind of good at. So I'm probably going to spend the next 10, 15 years just perfecting that. And which is pretty much what I'm doing. Wow, I left school. I'm old. It's pretty much what I've been doing for that time.
Just out of interest, when you go to schools, do you see that more in young men? Because the consensus, let's say, from what you can see and what you observe and what's been talked about, that tends to be the case because it aligns with lack of interest, and then guys feeling like that they've got no real use, and then and then there's that sort of lineage of thought that leads to worse mental health and feeling useless, therefore potentially committing suicide or having suicidal tendencies.
That's a good question. To be transparent, I've never really noticed it. I've never really looked out for it. I think the thing I see in school is, and it happens to me, it happens to a lot of my friends, the bad kids, the rebellious ones, are normally the ones that go out and do the wildest, most amazing shit. Because the ones that like to toe the line normally just do the normal shit. They go off and be accountants. And we need them.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not that at the same time.
100%. It's needed, because like if I didn't have my accountant, I'd be fucked. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, I have no idea what to send to HMRC. I'm like, they're asking me for all these forms.
What is tax?
Yeah, for real. I'm like, I have to pay that VAT. Why do I need to? Do you know what I mean? All these different little bits and pieces. So all of that stuff is needed. So a lot of my Jewish friends, accountants, and I'm like, mate, you're a legend. I love you. But I think it's one of those things where you have to, I feel like you really have to allow people just to come to a place where they know what works for them. And I feel like the school system isn't that great at that. Do you know what I mean? So when I meet a lot of these young men and women, and everybody in between, and I meet them, a lot of them, there is this pressure at school. There's like, have it all figured out by the time you leave school. And so many of them I meet, and they're kind of like,
I think everybody thinks
that. And they're like, I don't know, bro. Like, I literally don't know what I should do.
Or they get fixated on an idea quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then they stick to it for a while, and then unfortunately, for 7-8 years down the line, they're like, oh shit, this is not really what I enjoy.
Or your parents. So this is where parents come into. This is an interesting one. It'd be probably a question back to you. So I know a lot of friends that their parents these guys were first generations like Brits. So their parents were here like, you're going to become a doctor, lawyer, teacher. Outside of that, I don't give a fuck what you guys say. Yeah, they're like, oh, my mom work in the creative industry. The create what?
Yeah.
The create who?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that. You're a doctor, lawyer, teacher.
Okay.
I need something I can brag to your aunties and uncles about. And I think there's that pressure. Even now, I thought it would be different. But I go to schools, and I don't so much anymore. But when I used to talk to young people, and they'd be like, oh yeah, my mom says I'm going to be a doctor, lawyer, teacher. There's no choice. Yeah. So imagine your entire schooling education, all you're thinking is, I was in a house party the other day for my boy's birthday. He's studying his 5th year medicine, so he's going to be a doctor or whatever. It was all medicine students. And I'm like, why do you do what you do? Oh, my mum and dad got me into it.
Yeah.
You're in your like late 20s, bro. Like you're doing something that your parents, do you know what I mean? And I
think people are coming, and I had it myself. And again, I hate to sort of bang the drum over and over again about why we're doing this, but this is part of the reason is that anything that interests me came through podcasts and interviews and documentaries and that sort of thing. And I wouldn't say I was forced into any particular career, but much like yourself, I was much more like, I'll do something super conventional. I'm not knocking a estate agency because I respect it. Like it is what it is. But I was much more obsessed with, okay, well, this is the way I can make money the quickest. Yeah. And the purpose aspect didn't really interest me. Which is why I found it so fascinating when you said this is something that I want to be there when I die. So yes, for me it was that case of around 25 is when you have that existential sort of a moment and go, oh shit, this is it, and it's all a bit of a waste of time, and if I wasted, but arguably at the same time, all those things contribute to your decision and sourcing that idea.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I just think this we are all told a lie that there's almost like this one dream thing you're gonna do, and in your mind, because if you think in a one track, because I know I could do this for a period of time and this whole thing could plummet and explode, but that's not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? There's other things I can do. But if I'm constantly told all the time is this is what you can do and there's nothing really outside of that, you then can't, when that doesn't work out, you just have a nervous breakdown. Do you know what I mean? And I think and with my children, I will just encourage them like, yo, you can do anything, like literally. And if something fails, it fails.
And you can explore and you can 100%. Fail.
I've fucked up so many businesses as a joke. Just before this, I did a jewelry business and it was horrendous.